Hello, sir.
Hello, Aditya.
Sir, in a democracy, often change happens when there is a lot of public movement behind it, right? There's a lot of public support behind it. And who better to know that than you, right? That's why we keep talking about having the public on its side. The people of India right now are seeing a solution in a different manner. They're seeing a solution in something called the Cockroach Janta Party, right? This is in response to the Chief Justice of India calling unemployed youth cockroaches and parasites. How do you see this movement, sir? A lot of support for this.
You know, Abraham Lincoln once said, public opinion is everything. Without it, nothing will succeed. With it, nothing will fail. So, as you said, this is a way expression of the angst of the youth of this country. First of all, the Chief Justice of India has done a great disservice to himself and to the court by making very casual, unthinking remarks, as if, in private drawing room conversations. Even in private conversation, these kinds of ideas are not right. But definitely not in a public forum, not for the Chief Justice of India or any high functionary in the country. I'm told that the Chief Justice has apologized for his unwarranted remarks. I hope this will be a cautionary tale for all public figures of all political parties in future. The restraint in comments and the balance you have to bring while discussing or analyzing issues, and ultimately try to be part of the solution, not be a part of the problem. Now, as far as the youth are concerned, they are the victims of a vicious cycle. Every young person wants to do something with her life. Every young person is endowed with talent, with ability. Every parent has dreams about their children. This country, Hindu or Muslim, upper caste or lower caste, urban or rural, rich or poor. I can guarantee you as an elderly person, the parents live and die for their children. So if there is a serious problem in fulfilling that human potential, it is a systemic problem. Now, instead of addressing that, blaming the youth is the most unwarranted, dysfunctional response. I do not want to use harsher words, but it's a totally unproductive, unwarranted response. We require to be a part of the solution, as I said. So I'm glad that modern social media, etc., they give an opportunity for the youth to express their frustration, their anger, and in many ways they demand that they need a better life, they're entitled to a better life. Let's look at a bigger picture very briefly, we can go deeper into conversation. On paper, official statistics show that 5.2% unemployment is there in India, which is high but not extremely high. So the problem is not so much that there is no work. The problem is that organized sector is very small. 90% of the workers in India, 85% plus, are in the unorganized sector without a monthly secure wage. There's no job security, there's no guarantee where you're going to get your bread butter tomorrow. And far too many people are led up the garden path in the name of a college degree for no fault of theirs, without really equipping them with any skills, again for no fault of theirs. We are awarding them degrees. Without any analytical abilities, we are granting them grades and marks and passes and all kinds of things. It is a colossal failure of the educational and skill promotion system of the country. And in the process, we have a situation where many youth are unemployable. Not only are they unemployed, but they are unemployable. The employer, potential employer says, look, show me the skills, I'll give you employment. The youngsters say we need employment. So it's a classic case where we need bright young people with skills and ability to produce something of value. And yet they don't have employment. Employer feels that they don't have skills. Employee or potential employee feels that he doesn't get employment. And unless we address this conundrum, and India is unique in the sense that among large economies, there is no country where 90% are in the unorganized sector. And the other corollary is our perception of employment in India, in common parlance, is about government employment. So we created a whole industry of coaching and training for a very small number of government positions. And political parties are lying to the public, to the youth, leading to further frustration. If there are 100 jobs, the parties and the governments, they pretend as if 1 million people can be employed. So 1 million youngsters, they're whiling away their time, simply going to coaching institutions, spending more money, being a burden to their parents over and above their normal college degrees or whatever, in the hope that they'll get a government job. Not always a high job, it's even a lowly job. And obviously, statistically, only 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000 get these jobs. That's all that we can give. And the 99 others are deeply distressed. They lost their time, they lost their self-confidence. So unless we create jobs, not in the government, jobs cannot be created in the government. Jobs have to be created where goods and services are produced. Everything that you see around you. This is the chair on which you sit, the microphone you're holding, the watch I wear, the clothes I wear, the pen that I have, the glasses in my pocket, the sofa here. Everything is made by people, by private sector, by the market. You can't make things one place and create jobs another place. Jobs and making things or creating services, they go together. What is a job? If I fulfill your need, I get a remuneration. That's a job for me. Your needs are fulfilled. If we think there is a job without fulfilling human needs, it's not a job. It's gratis. It's not possible. And governments and parties, instead of explaining this and empowering people and enhancing their capacity, we are pretending as if we have an instant answer. And the children of this country are shortchanged. And they are suffering grievously because their expectations, and in this era of social media and 24-hour television and all kinds of streaming platforms, we see what is happening to the rich and the famous. So there's nothing wrong in having those dreams. But when I have no capacity to fulfill those dreams, that is when the frustration arises. I think much of what's happening in the form of this Cockroach Janta Party is the frustration between their expectations and reality, between their hopes and the despair of not being able to fulfill them, between their dreams and the capacity to fulfill their dreams. And as a country, unless we really put our heads together beyond parties, beyond politics, bureaucracy, politicians, entrepreneurial class, and the judiciary and everybody, unless we put our heads together and make it a fundamental mission for the next 20-25 years. If we don't do that, I think this kind of a problem, this kind of schism could get much more serious. The anger fueled by this unfulfilled expectation may lead to political instability, social disorder, and economic paralysis. So the dangers, in my opinion, are very real. We need inclusive growth very fast. We need opportunity for every kid very fairly and very quickly in a transparent way. And governments and political parties, instead of offering short-term welfare alone, we must focus on the long-term gains and employment generation.
Sir, considering how chronically online the generation is, like the whole generation of like the Gen Z is extremely chronicle when it comes to like since their birth and all. But don't you think this is also a way of how they are literally it's just them literally manifesting their anger, their frustration into these things? Because if you ask me, I don't see any I don't think that it's wrong on their part for the manifesto, that so-called manifesto that they have put forward, women's reservation, be independent media. So, do you see any merit in their argument also, what they are asking for?
No. The real issue is opportunity for the youth and employment generation and inclusive growth. Opportunity, employment, inclusive growth. To me, these are the critical things. But once a slogan or a platform gains traction, politics will not stay far behind. And therefore, it's very easy to convert any kind of a slogan or any kind of angst and anger and frustration into a party political thing. A deeper political thing is about how our tax money is utilized, how we are creating wealth, how we are creating jobs and opportunities for everybody. A party political thing is no, tu me me. I love you or I hate you. And somehow a pretension is there that it's a fight between them. No, it's a fight about our lives. It's a fight about the lives of the youth of the country. But a polarization on political grounds, on partisan grounds, is very exciting. It's like, you watch a film and the hero and the villain, they keep fighting. And Indians are very emotional. So instead of discussing and arguing in a very civilized manner and rationally persuading each other, we get into fisticuffs. Now you can see if a vehicle touches another vehicle on the street in bad traffic, the common response of most people is shouting at each other. Not resolving it, through legal means. If there's a damage, all attentions will take care. If there's something else, we'll do it. But because we are still an emotional society, we are still a society not wedded to lawful means, because lawful means don't seem to be working. Rule of law does not seem to be in existence except on paper. So it's understandable that people politicize it in a partisan sense. But that's not the problem. That is the consequence. The problem is more fundamental. The problem is frustrated youth, unemployed youth. On the one hand, there's a demographic dividend. India has the largest number of young people at the working age, and yet we are not utilizing them. It's a great asset. Countries like China, Germany, South Korea, Japan, others, they would all give the right arm to be where India is in terms of demography. That people of working age are available to really create wealth and therefore promote prosperity and economic growth. We have them, but we are not able to utilize them because we have not really given them the capacity. Third-rate education, poor quality skills, a disgusting examination system, and a political culture that promotes young people to take up government jobs as if they are available in plenty. So we created a very dangerous and explosive situation. We have to come out of it. This has to be taken out of party politics. This is about our country. It's not about a prime minister or a chief minister or a party in power or in opposition. It's about the youth of India who are our greatest treasure. Can we put them to use productively to make their lives more meaningful and purposive, and the collective good of the society is promoted? Or will that become a tremendous source of conflict, tension, frustration, anger, and therefore instability and violence in society? That's a choice we have to make as a society.
Sir, I was just curious that if we take the political parties right now and the Cockroach Janta Party, of course, do you think that there is a huge void that Cockroach Janta Party is filling right now? Because the political parties or the major political parties, they seem to have failed in the job that they are doing, or the government.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Undoubtedly, the current ruling dispensation at the national level is concerned about economic growth. I don't think anybody seriously doubts that. But is that model sufficient? Mere economic growth without creating jobs, without creating opportunities for everybody, mere economic growth without improving skills and school education of quality, will that help? The answer is an emphatic no. The opposition has been focusing on only individual welfare, short-term welfare, which is necessary to tide over a crisis situation. But that's not a solution. The young people are not saying, please give me a monthly benevolence. They're saying, give me dignity, give me opportunity. I want to rise on my own steam. I want to hold my head high. So giving monthly benevolence, even if it's necessary on occasion, that is not the way to promote dignity or prosperity. So there is now a political vacuum in that sense. Now parties must pick up these lessons. The ruling dispensation must realize growth must be far more inclusive. That means education of quality, not on paper, not merely spending money, but quality educational outcomes, healthcare. Education outcomes include skills, small town development, because India lives largely in its villages and small towns. If the growth and development and opportunities are limited to Mumbai, Hyderabad, Chennai, Bengaluru, Delhi, etc., or Ahmedabad and Pune, etc., what about the rest of India? Where are they going to go? Unless you create small towns as magnets of economic growth, because now with the current technology and infrastructure, it's possible to make it happen. You don't have to always think of only Bengaluru and Mumbai and Delhi. So unless the vision of development is improved significantly to make it inclusive, effective, to impact the lives of the people, not merely GDP numbers. GDP has to grow, there's no question about it. But if GDP growth is not translated into outcomes impacting the people's lives, particularly young people's lives, that obviously that growth is not enough. That's a lesson that has to be learned. And obviously you simply cannot spend what you do not have. Therefore welfare without creating wealth is simply not sustainable. It's not about right or wrong. It's simply not possible. So I think both sides of the political spectrum must learn lessons and then build a consensus to really allow holistic, inclusive, sustained, high growth creating employment possible. I think that is the lesson that we must get, rather than rejoicing, this diatribe and this tu meme. That's very easy to get lost in that. But there's a bigger lesson for every single political party of the country.
Sir, you talked about this danger that you sense in the emergence of the Cockroach Janta Party, right? Youth, at least in South Asia, has expressed this anger in different countries. Nepal has done it, Bangladesh has done it, Sri Lanka has done it. For different reasons, youth of America also was on streets. My question to you right now is, they have roughly some 5 million followers as we are speaking, and their number is rising rapidly, right? Even if 10% of these numbers were on streets tomorrow, even if 1% of that number is on streets tomorrow, what do you think will happen? The reason I'm asking this is because, like Sharanya mentioned, this generation is chronically online. Like we had chaurastas, we had physical spaces to protest. This is their generation's way of protesting. So if they actually manifest into physical space where you can see them, right now they're just clicking a follow button. But what if tomorrow they're on streets?
You are absolutely right. Social media makes it very easy to mobilize people on a large scale, go into the reservoir of anger and frustration and take it out, and then instantly, normally political parties to mobilize, let's say, 4 million people or 5 million people. By conservative estimate, typically they would spend maybe 300 to 400 or maybe 500 or 600 crores.
Yes.
In fact, I am underestimating. The cost in many cases is 500 rupees per capita. So that's the kind of number they are spending. But social media makes it easy to do it at zero cost, which is the good part. But unless the political system, the governance system, understands the angst, not dismiss it lightly, not insult them as, in this case, a high constitutional functionary tended to do in a cavalier manner, but actually understand the depth of the anger and frustration. Because it would be my child. Just because the children of the privileged are not affected by this, even if they are not particularly productive, you have enough asset base, you are giving them privilege, you are giving them money, you are giving them, in some cases, maybe a good quality education. Therefore, you feel that you are insulated, but no. If something is affecting 80-90% of the population, the rest of the 10% cannot be insulated. And if they come onto the streets, if the frustration is allowed to spill out to the street and becomes violence, no force on earth can really bring order. And using violence and force and brutality is not the best way to run a democracy. Willing consent is what is required. So you must never test the patience of the people. You must be able to persuade them, give them a credible roadmap and a genuine hope. At the same time, the young people also must realize there are no miracles. The expectation that by 24 hours, by some flick of a switch, or by pressing a button, or by giving an order, everything will change, that is cinematic. It happens only in very, not very sophisticated films. Even good films don't have that. So, what is required is not a miracle. What is required is a realistic roadmap, promoting skills, creating employment, and a pathway to prosperity after years of hard work. Poverty is never a real curse. Real curse is hopelessness. We have to give realistic hope, and we have to have a roadmap in which everybody can participate. That hope must be inclusive, not for the rich and powerful, not for the very highly educated and very highly skilled. Because for no fault of the youngsters, we have not given them the skills. So it's for us now to give them the skills and productivity and a realistic roadmap, and also then urge patience, because miracles are not happening. Because I wish all of us collectively, we all wish something like, cricket, one day cricket or something happens, World Championship is there, 1 billion people pray and people think miracles happen. I wish that were true. 1 billion people may pray, you may have all that anxiety, but that's not what's going to change the outcome. So in real life, you have a roadmap, you do the right things, you have the patience, you work hard together, collectively, united, and over time, dramatic results will come. Instant nirvana is not possible. China has achieved spectacular progress, probably the fastest in the history of the world, But even China took a generation or more to give some measure of hope and prosperity and opportunity for everybody from where they were initially. So we have probably another 15, 20 years of hard work. So hard work should not bother us. What should bother us is there is no realistic roadmap, no opportunity. And if we don't learn lessons from the past mistakes, if the growth model is good in parts, definitely GDP growth must be there. I'm a great advocate of that, but not sufficient. It's necessary but not sufficient. If we learn that lesson, if we bring that sufficiency, and if there's a realistic roadmap and the hope is realistic, then society will be stable. If it's not, well, mass poverty, low level of skills, high level of unorganized sector, and massive new technology, instant communication and ability to organize is an explosive combination.